हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल। तो आज हमें ऑपरेशन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट इन बैंकिंग सेक्टर पर साइनॉप्सिस बनाना है, जिसे हम बाद में स्टडी सेंटर से अप्रूव करवाना होता है और फिर उसके बाद हमें कोऑर्डिनेटर के साइन करवाना होता है और ये बहुत कंपलसरी होता है। ये हमारा लास्ट होता है। सारे असाइनमेंट सबमिट करने के बाद जब हमारा कोर्स ख़त्म होता है तो हमें ये लास्ट में बनाना होता है साइनॉप्सिस और इससे रिलेटेड प्रोजेक्ट तैयार करना होता है। फिर उसे हमें कोऑर्डिनेटर से साइन करवा कर सबमिट करना होता है हार्ड कॉपी में। तो चलिए हम हमारा साइनॉप्सिस का टॉपिक देखते हैं। ऑपरेशनल रिस्क मैनेजमेंट इन बैंकिंग सेंटर सबमिटेड टू सर्टिफिकेट लगाना होता है हमें उसमें। फिर चैप्टर 1 इंट्रोडक्शन। द वर्स्ट इमेजिनेबल टाइम्स फेस्ड बाय द ग्लोबल फाइनेंस सर्विस सेक्टर इन 2008 definitely makes it an year to be remembered as the year of shutdowns, layoffs, bailouts, bankruptcies, fraud, greed, mis-selling, rough trading, poor internal controls. The scale and persistence of the credit crisis showed that excessive leverage and unfettered financial innovations, together with improvident credit organization, inadequate valuation method, can escalate market disruptions with adverse consequences for financial stability and economic growth. हमें इन सब के बारे में बताना है। The main focus in operational risk management approach worldwide has been excessive reliance on different financial models. The concepts of risk in banking, types of risk in financial sector, credit risk, market risk, liquidity risk, operational risk, interest rate risk, legal risk, business risk, settlement risk, operational risk management of banks in India. Chapter 2 literature review. Chapter 3 research methodology. Statement of the problem, research questions, research objectives, statement of the hypothesis, research design, sample size, questionnaire design, operational risk measurement tools, self risk assessment, risk mapping, risk indicators, score records, scenario analysis, fuzzy logic. चैप्टर 5 में हमें कंक्लूजन बताना है कि इन सबका क्या कंक्लूजन निकला। हाई रिस्क कैटेगरी रेंज बताना है मीडियम टू हाई में। फिर उसके बाद हम बताएंगे मीडियम रिस्क कैटेगरी लो टू हाई में रेंज बताएंगे। फिर लो रिस्क कैटेगरी बताएंगे कि लो टू मीडियम रेंज में क्या लो रिस्क कैटेगरी है। चैप्टर 6 में हम बताएंगे बिब्लियोग्राफी जो हमने सब बनाया। उसके बाद बिब्लियोग्राफी बताना है कि कहाँ से हमने ये सब इंफॉर्मेशन गैदर की है। नेक्स्ट हम इसका प्रोजेक्ट बनाएंगे। इसमें भी हमें सबमिटेड टू सर्टिफिकेट लगाना है। फिर चैप्टर 1 में इंट्रोडक्शन वही द वर्स्ट इमेजिनेबल टाइम फेस्ड बाय द ग्लोबल फाइनेंशियल सर्विस सेक्टर इन 2008 डेफिनेटली मेक्स इट एन ईयर टू बी रिमेंबर्ड एज द ईयर ऑफ शटडाउन, ले ऑफ, bailout, bankrupts, fraud, greed, mis-selling, rough trading, poor internal controls. The scale and the persistence of a credit crisis shows that excessive leverage and unfettered financial innovations, together with provident credit organization, inadequate valuation methods can escalate market disruptions with adverse consequences for financial stability and economic growth. An analysis of credit crisis and the failure of financial organizations across the globe makes it apparent that underlying their failure were improperly managed operational risk, greed, increasing complexity of banking and financial product, major advance in technology, rapid expansion of bank operations, increasing vulnerability of financial institutions, poor modeling were amongst the cause of this meltdown. All these causes have a striking resemblance with operational risk events. It is observed that failure in operational risk management by the financial institution fueled the subsequent credit and liquidity crisis and the financial meltdown which engulfed the world in the closing month of 2008. The root cause of the problem was not the new or so-called unknown risk from derivatives collateralized debt obligation, rather it was the failure of managing operational risk. In light of the crisis, operational risk management has become imperative for all the financial institutions. Indian banks were relatively protected from the subprime crisis and faced only an indirect impact of the liquidity crunch post the credit crisis. Strict lending criteria, no loans to subprime borrowers with combination of culture and regulations cushion from them from crisis. However, it is a imperative to compare the ORM practice of Indian banks with the bank worldwide so as that can become a guiding force for the practices to be followed in failure when AMA compliance become mandatory. The Basel Committee on Banking Supervision performed the loss data collection exercise 2008 to collect information of all four data elements: internal loss data, external loss data, scenario analysis, and business environment and internal control factors. Used in advanced measurement approach, this study uses LDCE 2008 as a benchmark to compare the range of operational risk management practices followed by a cross section of 31 Indian banks of different categories and sizes. Operational risk identification and measurement is still in evolutionary stage as compared to the maturity that market and credit risk measurement has achieved. The need for operational risk management is widely recognized by institutions on a global basis. The major areas of concern include definition of operational risk, its measurement, and formalization in theory culture. There is a growing realization that efficient operational risk management framework improves and reinforces the internal controls of the organization. Levada 2007 emphasizes that internal audit should be alert to the whole process of implementation of the system for managing operational risk in entities. Laker 2006 argues that greater complexity of banking activity and increasing dependence on technology and specialist skill has made operational risks as one of the most important risk facing banking institutions, of which outsourcing and technology risk are two major sources of operational risk. Davis 2009 observes that the September 11 terrorist attacks changed the debate around operational risk. It had an impact on firms' operations as well as economic and regulatory fallout. It raised questions about business committee, financial crime, and processing automations. Operational risk is not a new risk, but it is being increasingly realized by the bankers that many losses earlier described as credit or market risk were in fact due to failing operational and internal process. Consiglio and Zinois 2003, Girard 2005, and Hermans 2003 emphasizes upon widely publicized loss event to the lack of operational risk management. They insist that the management of operational risk encourage better behavior amongst firms. Way 2006 and Cummins J.D. Lewis CM and VR 2006 examined that decline in market value due to announcement of operational loss event were for a larger magnitude than the operational losses causing them. Skinner 2008 asserted that the growth and the survival of firm amidst intense competition depends upon the management and control of operational risk. In response to recent incidents such as the subprime crisis in the US and the internet disruptive to business in Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa caused by damaged undersea cables. Marshall 2008 feels that there is a need to take a cross department approach to risk management and business committee strategy. The main focus in operational risk management approaches worldwide has been excessive reliance on different financial model. The model developed over the years failed to predict and prepare the firm by the catastrophe. Operational risk mainly deals with tail events rather than central projections or tendencies reflecting abnormal behavior. Thus, the exposure to operational risk is less predictable and even harder to model because extreme losses are one time events creating huge economic impact without historical precedent. Regulatory efforts have contributed in large to the evolution of operational risk measurement as a distinct discipline. The operational risk subgroup of the Basel Committee Accord implementation group defines operational risk estimation technique based on 8 business lines. Concept of risk in banking. Types of risk in financial sector. Credit risk. The risk arises from default by the counterparty or failure to fulfill the obligation wholly or partially in an agreed term. It has a potential loss due to the non-performance of a financial contract. For bank, credit risk resides in asset in its banking book. Market risk. The risk financial institutions experience the volatility of income or market value resulted from fluctuation in market factors. These are four most important economic market connected with the price fluctuation of market of debt security sensitive to interest rate changes, stock market, currency market, and commodity market. Liquidity risk, operational risk, interest rate risk, legal risk, business risk, settlement risk. Banking regulations. One of the function of banking regulation is to create a regulatory framework that augments a soundness and competition. Such standard rules make certain that a satisfactory level of financial services through the banking system is available to entire economy. Banking regulations are enforced to safeguard the stability of the financial system and to keep away from the financial crisis. Regulatory and supervisors are prepared to seize the turn the lowering trend of banks' behavior into positive through increasing enforcement and improvement in the risk culture. Operational risk management of bank in India. Source of operational risk. Operational risk loss distribution. Expected loss, unexpected loss. Operational risk in financial institutions. Operational risk in commercial bank. Chapter 2 Literature Review. The shift from paper to electronic payments changes the operational risk profile of bank because it represents a change in the business processes associated with the retail payments. Retail payment products are important business line of bank. For this purpose, banks are depending on outsources, non-bank partners, and joint ventures are to provide a full range of service to their customers. A smaller bank does audit to assess compliance with operational risk framework. An increase in the number of fraud attempts are being elevated through manual and automated system. Chapter 3 Research Methodology. Statement of the problem. Although the banking sector has become strong, competitive, dynamic, and resistant, it faces several newer challenges as a result of macroeconomic and financial sector reforms in domestic as well as in global space. A review of operational risk expectedly shows the that subject coverage is limited to quantifications of operational risk data and modeling techniques. The research gap in the literature paves the way for a study to focus on risk derives of operational risk and its effect on bank credibility. Research questions. The following are the primary research questions for the study. What are the factors acting as driver of operational risk in banking sector? How the identify factors confirmed as drivers of operational risk, and which factor exposing relatively more important than others? How the perception of the respondent toward operational risks differ with demographic profile factor? What are the major operational risk event experienced by bank? What is the impact of operational risk on profitability and other non-profitability factors? How do the operational risks respond to change in event probability and severity parameters? Research objectives. The study mainly focused on evaluating operational risk of Indian banking industry under the Basel Accord. Each category of risk driver, people, process, technology, and external events is interconnected with each other and affect the operating system. The purpose of the research is to investigate the key drivers, events, and its implication in the banking sector, to identify key drivers and potential sub-factors associated with operational risk of the bank, to evaluate the relative importance of the factors affecting the operational risk, to assess the demographic profile influence on operational risk perceptions, to find predominant loss generating operational risk events, to analyze the impact of operational risk on financial and non-financial aspect of the bank, to estimate the change in likelihood and the impact level of operational risk events. Statement of the hypothesis. Research design. Sample size, questionnaire design, operational risk measurement tools, self-risk assessment, risk mapping, risk indicators, score records, identify risk drivers and controlling factors, determine the initial level of capital, cross-check the accuracy of the questions on the response, and challenging the existing score records in terms of frequency and severity. Scenario analysis, fuzzy logic, operational risk मैट्रिक्स. फिर हमें ऐसे ग्राफ बनाना है फ्रीक्वेंसी एंड सिविरिटी में. क्वांटिफिकेशन ऑफ ऑपरेशनल रिस्क कैपिटल, approaches for qualification of risk capital, internal measurement approach, loss distribution approach, score records, operational risk framework, components of framework. चैप्टर 4 रिजल्ट. क्या रिजल्ट है? ऑपरेशनल रिस्क ट्रेंड. ऐसा टेबल बनानी है. रिलायबिलिटी टेस्ट, फैक्टर एनालिसिस फॉर प्रोसेस रिस्क, फैक्टर 1, फैक्टर 2, फैक्टर 3, क्या फैक्टर अफेक्ट करे, फैक्टर 4, फैक्टर 5, फैक्टर एनालिसिस फॉर एक्सटर्नल रिस्क का फैक्टर 1, फैक्टर 2, फैक्टर 3, ANOVA. For educational qualification, null hypothesis, there is no significant difference between educational qualification of respondent and perception toward operational risk. Age, null hypothesis. फिर एक्सपीरियंस, नल हाइपोथेसिस का एक्सपीरियंस क्या है? देयर इज नो सिग्निफिकेंट डिफरेंस बिटवीन एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ रेस्पोंडेंट एंड परसेप्शन टुवर्ड ऑपरेशनल रिस्क. इनकम, फिर रिस्क मैट्रिक एनालिसिस ऑफ ऑपरेशनल रिस्क इवेंट्स, वो सब बताना है इसमें. इंटरनल फ्रॉड के बारे में, प्रोबेबिलिटी एंड सिविरिटी ऑफ इंटरनल फ्रॉड, एक्सटर्नल फ्रॉड, उससे रिलेटेड आपको टेबल भी बनानी है. फिर क्लाइंट प्रोडक्ट्स एंड बिजनेस प्रैक्टिस, CPBP, फिर डैमेज टू फिजिकल एसेट्स DPA, रिग्रेशन एनालिसिस, फिर कंक्लूजन क्या निकला, फाइंडिंग pertaining टू ऑपरेशनल रिस्क इवेंट आइडेंटिफिकेशन, फिर फाइंडिंग pertaining टू इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ऑपरेशनल रिस्क रिग्रेशन, डिस्कशन, हाई रिस्क कैटेगरी, मीडियम टू हाई, फिर मीडियम टू लो था, लो टू हाई था, मीडियम रिस्क कैटेगरी लो टू हाई, फिर लो कैटेगरी लो टू मीडियम, फिर जनरल सजेशंस क्या, इट वॉज फाउंड दैट द occurrence of operational risk in certain years was comparatively less but the magnitude of loss seems to be higher, hence there should be flexibility in the modeling technique to measure and manage and bring it into marginal level. The capital charge for operational risk is same for all banks irrespective of its size, nature and establishment. फिर suggestion based on research finding, future research, limitation of the study, फिर bibliography, तो यहाँ हमारा प्रोजेक्ट भी ख़त्म होता है। इसे हमें पूरा बनाकर सबमिट करना होता है विद साइनॉप्सिस, फिर प्रोजेक्ट बनाना होता है और जाके हमें सबमिट करना होता है हार्ड कॉपी में। उसमें पहले हमें सिग्नेचर लेना होता है कोऑर्डिनेटर से, फिर जाके हमें सबमिट करना होता है, जो कि बहुत ही ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है। अगर आप ये इसे सबमिट नहीं करेंगे तो आपका डिग्री आपको नहीं मिलेगा। थैंक यू।